There are people in your life right now who are silently draining you. People whose presence feels harmless at first, but who leave you weaker, emptier, more confused. Jung believed these people are not random. They are patterns, recurring forces that appear in human life again and again. And if you fail to recognize them, they will shape your fate. Think about it. How many times have you trusted someone who later betrayed you? How many times have you allowed yourself to be manipulated because you didn't see the warning signs? How many times have you stayed too long in relationships, jobs, or friendships that were clearly toxic? But you told yourself, it's not so bad. Jung's psychology tells us it's not just bad luck, it's unconsciousness. When you don't know the archetypes at play, you walk blindly into traps. But when you begin to see them, everything changes. You begin to recognize the patterns. You start to sense the danger before it consumes you. You stop being the victim of fate, and you start becoming the author of your life. And here's the shocking truth. The most dangerous people are not always obvious. They don't come with warning labels. They often come disguised as friends, lovers, mentors, even as saviors. That's why Jung insisted that awareness is power. Because when you see the shadow clearly, it loses its grip over you. Let's start with the first kind of dangerous person Jung would warn you about, the manipulator of shadows. This person doesn't attack you directly. They slip into your mind quietly. They learn your weaknesses, your insecurities, your secret fears, and then they use them against you. They smile while they cut. They flatter while they bind. You don't even realize you're being controlled until your choices are no longer yours. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Manipulators know this. They keep you distracted from yourself, so you never confront them. You've met them. The boss who praises you just enough to keep you loyal, but never enough to let you grow. The friend who comforts you in private but criticizes you in public. The partner who alternates between affection and withdrawal, so you stay hooked, always chasing their approval. These are the manipulators of shadows. They feed on your unconsciousness. And here's the hidden cost. Every time you fall for them, you lose a piece of yourself. You start doubting your instincts, you question your worth, you collapse into their narrative. Over time, you forget who you are, and that's exactly what they want. But Jung gives you the key, awareness. The moment you see the pattern, the spell breaks. The manipulator's greatest power is invisibility. The moment you call it out, to yourself, not even aloud, they lose their grip. Their power dissolves in the light of your consciousness. But this is only the first. There are more. The second dangerous type, the eternal victim. At first they seem harmless, even sympathetic. They tell you stories of how life has wronged them. They carry wounds like trophies. They make you feel like their savior. And you step into the role believing you can help. But soon you realize, nothing changes. Their problems never end. Their pain never heals. And you? You become their fuel. Jung believed the victim archetype is one of the most seductive because it appeals to your shadow, your desire to be needed, to be important, to be the rescuer. But here's the trap. The victim doesn't want saving. They want dependence. They want you bound to their pain. They want you chained by their helplessness. Think of the friend who always calls with a crisis but never takes your advice. The colleague who constantly complains but never acts. The partner who uses guilt to keep you from leaving. If you go, I'll fall apart. These are the eternal victims, and if you stay, they will consume you. The cost? You lose energy. You lose focus. You lose your life to someone else's endless collapse. Jung said, the person who cannot take responsibility for themselves will project that responsibility onto others. The eternal victim projects it onto you, and unless you walk away, you become their prison guard. But it gets darker, because there are others, more subtle, more destructive, and Jung warned that these patterns often come in forms you least expect. The third dangerous type, the false mask of perfection. These are the ones who look flawless on the surface. They always say the right thing, always appear calm, always seem above it all. They radiate certainty, and you feel small in their presence. At first, you admire them. You trust them. But then something strange happens. The more time you spend with them, the more you doubt yourself. You start feeling inadequate, as if you're always failing. Jung warned about this mask. He called it the persona, the face we show to the world. And the more perfect the mask, the more dangerous the shadow it hides. The person who insists on being flawless is often the one most ruled by unconscious chaos. But because they never show it, they project their darkness onto you. Suddenly you are the flawed one, the weak one, the broken one. Think of the colleague who always seems composed but subtly undermines you. The mentor who always has the answers but leaves you feeling incapable. The partner who never admits mistakes but magnifies yours. These are the masks of perfection. They are dangerous because they don't just control you, they make you doubt your own reality. The cost? Gaslighting, self-doubt, a slow erosion of confidence. Jung said, "We don't get wounded alone, and we don't heal alone." Masks wound because they isolate you from truth. They keep you trapped in illusion. Now, let's move to the fourth dangerous type, the seducer of power. This one is magnetic. They draw you in with charisma, with promises, with visions of success. They make you feel chosen, special, important. You think, this is the person who will change my life. And at first it feels true, but slowly you realize the truth. They don't care about you. They care about control. Jung would place them in the archetype of the shadow ruler. They offer you the world, but their real goal is to bind you to their ambition. You become a pawn in their game, a soldier in their army, a follower in their empire. And the moment you stop serving them, they discard you. Think of the boss who promises promotion, but keeps you chained to endless tasks. The leader who inspires loyalty, but sacrifices people for power. The partner who seduces you with passion, but uses your devotion as leverage. These are the seducers of power. The cost? You lose autonomy, you lose vision, you lose years chasing someone else's dream. Jung said, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents." The seducer of power thrives on unlived lives. Don't let yours be one of them. Now the fifth dangerous type, the eternal child. At first they are fun, exciting, full of energy. They make you laugh, they break routines, they feel refreshing. But soon you see the truth. They never grow. They never take responsibility. They never stand steady when life demands it. You become their parent, their protector, their caretaker. Jung identified this archetype as the pure eternus, the eternal boy. They resist adulthood because adulthood means limits, discipline, responsibility. They charm you with spontaneity, but underneath they are fragile. And fragility becomes your burden. Think of the friend who never follows through, the colleague who avoids hard work, the partner who demands freedom but collapses when things get tough. These are the eternal children. They are dangerous not because they mean harm, but because they refuse to grow. And if you stay, you will shrink to carry them. The cost? You lose your growth. You lose your focus. You waste your strength parenting someone who refuses to evolve. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The eternal child refuses that privilege. Don't let them steal yours. Finally, the sixth dangerous type, the shadow mirror. This one is the most unsettling, because they don't just manipulate or play victim or seduce. They reflect you. They show you the very parts of yourself you've been denying. At first, you are fascinated by them. You feel a strange pull, a magnetic connection. But soon, it becomes torment, because everything you hate in them is something unresolved in you. Jung believed relationships are mirrors of the unconscious. He said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The shadow mirror is dangerous because they trigger you endlessly. They force you to face your darkest parts, but if you're unconscious, you'll just project. You'll blame them, you'll fight them, and in doing so, you'll miss the lesson. Think of the rival who brings out your jealousy, the partner who exposes your control issues, the friend who irritates you in ways you can't explain. These are shadow mirrors. They are dangerous not because they destroy you, but because they awaken you. And awakening, if resisted, becomes destruction. The cost? Endless conflict, projection, hatred that blinds you, unless you recognize the truth. The shadow mirror is showing you yourself. So here they are, the 6 dangerous people Jung warns about. The manipulator of shadows, the eternal victim, the false mask of perfection, the seducer of power, the eternal child, and the shadow mirror. Each one drains, wounds, traps. Each one keeps you unconscious if you let them. But here is the revelation. They are also teachers. Each one forces you to see a part of your own shadow. Each one reveals where you collapse. Each one gives you the chance to grow. Jung believed danger and growth are inseparable, that the people who wound us most also show us the path to individuation, if we dare to see it. So the question becomes, will you stay blind, letting these patterns rule you? Or will you open your eyes, recognize them, and take back your power? In the next block, we'll dive deeper into each type, exploring not just how to recognize them, but how to respond, how to protect your energy, and how to use these encounters to become stronger, freer, more whole. The danger of these 6 archetypes is not that they exist. It's that you don't see them clearly. Blindness is their shield, and blindness is your prison. But Jung believed that once the unconscious becomes conscious, power returns to you. So let's take the mask off each one and learn how to disarm them before they devour your life. Think of the manipulator of shadows. They never storm the gates. They slip through the cracks. They study you, not to know you, but to own you. They learn the tone of voice that makes you doubt yourself. They memorize the insecurities you reveal in casual conversation. And then they drip-feed those weaknesses back to you until you no longer know where their thoughts end and yours begin. The manipulator's genius is invisibility. Their strategy is to make you think the cage was your idea. So how do you disarm them? You don't fight them with arguments. That only feeds them. Manipulators thrive on reaction. Instead, you practice the weapon they fear most: detachment. Silence that is not empty, but deliberate. A refusal to play their game. Jung said that people project their shadows outward because they cannot face them inward. The manipulator's shadow is control, and when you refuse to be controlled, their shadow devours them instead of you. Watch closely. When you don't react, they panic. Their tricks lose power. Their mask begins to slip. That's when you'll see them for what they are: weak souls feeding on your unconsciousness. Now turn to the eternal victim. Their power is pity. Their weapon is guilt. They don't need chains because they build them with your empathy. They whisper, "Without you, I'll collapse." And you believe it. You feed them your time, your energy, your focus. But the victim doesn't want healing. They want dependency. Healing would mean losing their identity, and so they cling to suffering like a crown. How do you break free? By refusing the crown they offer. Jung taught that individuation means taking full responsibility for your own life. The victim rejects this. If you accept their projection, you reject your own growth. So you must return responsibility to them, not with cruelty but with clarity. You say, "This is your choice, this is your life," and then you step back. At first, they'll scream louder, they'll try harder, they'll test your guilt. But when you refuse to carry them, they face the truth. Their suffering belongs to them, not you. Some will finally grow. Most will simply seek another savior. Either way, you're free. Next, the mask of perfection. This one is dangerous because it makes you doubt your own eyes. They radiate flawlessness, but you feel small in their presence. You think, "Why can't I be more like them?" But Jung knew the truth. The brighter the persona, the darker the shadow it hides. No one is flawless. The more someone insists they are, the more chaos is buried beneath. So how do you respond? By refusing to worship the mask. Stop comparing yourself, stop believing the performance. Instead, ask, what shadow are they hiding? See the cracks in their act. Notice the slips, the inconsistencies, the projection of their flaws onto others. Jung said, The persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself and others think one is. When you stop falling for the persona, you stop doubting yourself. And when you stop doubting yourself, their illusion collapses. Now the seducer of power, charisma, magnetism, the promise of glory. They make you feel chosen, as if standing next to them elevates you. But Jung warned about archetypal possession. When someone becomes consumed by a single drive, the seducer is possessed by ambition. They don't care about you. They care about your utility. And once you're drained, you'll be discarded. So what do? You remember this truth. Anyone who offers you the world too quickly is usually trying to steal it from you. Instead of being blinded by charisma, test for integrity. Watch how they treat those with no power. Watch how they speak when there's nothing to gain. Power reveals character, and the seducer's mask always slips eventually. And when it does, you'll see the hollowness beneath. That hollowness is their fate. It doesn't have to be yours. Then comes the eternal child. They make you laugh. They keep life exciting. But Jung called them the pure eternus, the boy who refuses to grow. They avoid limits, responsibility, commitment. They promise freedom, but deliver chaos. And if you stay too long, you'll realize the truth. Their freedom depends on you carrying the weight they refuse to touch. So how do you protect yourself? By refusing to parent them. Stop making excuses. Stop cleaning up their messes. Stop carrying their chaos. Jung said, "We cannot change anything unless we accept it." Accept the truth. They are not ready to grow, and you cannot grow for them. If you stay, you will shrink. If you walk away, you create space for your own ascent. Finally, the shadow mirror, the most unsettling of all. Because this one is not just an enemy. They are a reflection. They expose what you deny in yourself. Every time they irritate you, every time they trigger you, every time you rage against them, ask yourself, what part of me am I seeing? Jung insisted that everything unconscious in you will appear outside you as fate. The shadow mirror is not fate. It is your unconscious dressed as another human being. So how do you face them? By taking the mirror seriously. Instead of projecting, you turn inward. Instead of blaming, you ask, what in me is being exposed? It's painful. It feels humiliating. But it is liberating. Because when you own your shadow, the mirror loses power. What once triggered you becomes fuel. What once enraged you becomes clarity. And suddenly, the person who tormented you becomes your teacher. Do you see the pattern now? Each archetype is dangerous only if you remain unconscious. Each one feeds on your blindness, your collapse, your fear. But the moment you see them, their grip dissolves. Awareness is the sword. Jung's psychology is the shield. And when you wield them together, you stop being prey. You become sovereign. But here's the cliffhanger. Jung never believed these people were just out there. He believed they live inside you too. The manipulator, the victim, the mask, the seducer, the child, the mirror. They are not only people you must avoid. They are archetypes within your own psyche. And unless you confront them, you will not only fall for them outside, you will become them inside. In the next block, we'll explore this terrifying truth. We'll see how these 6 dangerous people live in you, how you manipulate, how you play victim, how you wear masks, and how facing this shadow within is the only path to true individuation. Jung's hard truth is this: the enemy you see outside is only the rehearsal. The real battle is within. And if you can win it, you will become rare, whole, unforgettable. You've seen them in others: the manipulator, the victim, the mask, the seducer, the child, the mirror. You can point to them, name them, warn others about them. But Jung would ask you a darker question. What if they also live in you? The unconscious is not polite. It doesn't care about your self-image. It doesn't care about how good you think you are. It hides what you cannot face, and then it leaks through your behavior. You think the manipulator is only outside, but sometimes you manipulate. You think the victim is only outside, but sometimes you collapse into helplessness. You think the mask is only outside, but sometimes you wear one so well you forget it's even there. This is the brutal truth. Until you confront these archetypes in yourself, you are not free of them. You are merely projecting them onto others. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." That's why the people you find most dangerous, most unbearable, most toxic, are often the ones reflecting your own shadow. So let's walk into the fire. First, the manipulator within. You may tell yourself you hate manipulators, but think about the times you've bent the truth to protect yourself, the times you've flattered to get approval, the times you've hidden your real motives because honesty felt too risky. That is the manipulator in you. It's not as obvious, but it's there. And when you deny it, it grows stronger in the dark. How do you disarm it? By owning it. By admitting, yes, I manipulate sometimes. Yes, I twist words. Yes, I hide truth. Jung taught that the shadow loses power when you bring it into light. The moment you admit the manipulator in you, you gain the ability to stop. To choose differently. To speak honestly, even when it costs you. The manipulator's weapon is secrecy. Confession breaks it. Next, the victim within. You know how draining eternal victims are. But have you noticed the times you've collapsed into helplessness? The nights you whispered to yourself, "It's not my fault, life is unfair, I can't do anything." The times you sought pity instead of responsibility. The victim is seductive because it feels safe. If you are helpless, then you don't have to act. If you are broken, then no one can blame you. But safety is a lie. Helplessness is a prison. Jung's answer was responsibility. Radical, terrifying responsibility. To say, this pain is mine, this choice is mine, this path is mine. When you claim responsibility, the victim dissolves. You are no longer trapped in collapse. You are climbing, even if the climb is slow. And the moment you stop blaming, you stop draining. Now the mask within. The persona. The smiling face you wear at work. The polite role you play in society. The version of yourself that seems flawless, controlled, acceptable. Jung warned that the persona is necessary. Society demands masks. But the danger comes when you confuse the mask for the self, when you hide your chaos so deeply that you begin to believe your own performance. Have you done this? Of course you have. We all have. We've smiled while dying inside. We've pretended to agree when we didn't. We've shown strength while hiding weakness. The danger isn't the mask itself, it's forgetting to take it off. Jung said, "The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society, but it is not the whole of the individual. To integrate the mask, you must admit your chaos. You must allow yourself to be flawed, vulnerable, human. Then comes the seducer within. This one is hardest to admit, because it feels good. Think of the times you've charmed someone to get what you wanted, the times you've promised more than you could give, the times you used your influence not to uplift, but to control. Seduction is power, and power tempts. But Jung warned that the danger is possession. When the drive for power consumes you, you become hollow. You burn people out, and then you burn yourself. How do you confront it? By checking your motives. Ask, am I serving my ego or am I serving growth? Am I using people or am I building with them? Jung didn't say to reject power. He said to integrate it, to use it consciously, to recognize the seducer in you so it doesn't unconsciously devour others. Then the child within, the part of you that resists responsibility, that avoids limits, that wants freedom without weight. At times it's beautiful, playful, creative, alive. But when it dominates, it ruins you. Think of the times you've procrastinated endlessly, the times you've avoided hard choices, the times you've demanded others carry you while you chased freedom. That is the eternal child in you. Jung didn't want you to kill it. He wanted you to grow it, to take its creativity but give it discipline, to take its spontaneity but add responsibility. Individuation is not about killing parts of you, it's about integration. The child becomes dangerous only when it rules unchecked. Finally, the shadow mirror within. This is the most terrifying, because it is not just one archetype. It is all of them. The shadow mirror is every part of you you've denied, reflected back at you by the world. The people who irritate you most are often carrying the traits you've buried deepest. The rival who makes you jealous shows you your own suppressed ambition. The arrogant colleague who enrages you reflects your own hidden hunger for recognition. The weak friend who frustrates you mirrors your own fear of collapse. Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." When you face your mirror, you stop projecting. You stop blaming. You stop wasting energy hating others for what you won't admit in yourself. Instead, you begin to integrate, and that integration makes you whole. So here is the revelation of Block 3. The 6 dangerous people are not only out there, they are in you. And until you see them clearly, you will keep attracting them. You will keep fighting them. You will keep being drained by them. But once you see them in yourself, everything changes. The manipulator becomes honesty. The victim becomes responsibility. The mask becomes authenticity. The seducer becomes conscious power. The child becomes disciplined creativity. The mirror becomes self-knowledge. And this is individuation. This is Jung's ultimate goal: to become whole, to unite light and shadow, to no longer collapse into unconscious patterns, but to live consciously, deliberately, authentically. But here's the cliffhanger. Individuation is not the end, it is the beginning. Once you integrate your shadow, you don't just stop being drained. You become magnetic. You become unshakable. You become rare. In the next block, we'll see what happens when you live integrated. How you become unforgettable, respected, and free. How your transformation terrifies those who remain unconscious. And how you can live a life of authenticity, power, and depth, without ever collapsing back into the herd. You've seen the masks collapse. You've faced the shadows. You've admitted the manipulator, the victim, the child, the seducer, the mirror within. You've begun the painful work of integration. And now the question emerges like fire. What happens when you live integrated? What happens when you stop collapsing into unconsciousness and begin living authentically, deliberately, whole? Jung believed this was the destiny of the individual. Individuation. Not perfection, not flawlessness, but wholeness. A life no longer ruled by denial and projection, but by conscious choice. And when someone lives this way, they become rare, unforgettable, terrifying. Why terrifying? Because most people never do this work. Most stay in collapse, in illusion, in unconsciousness. They wear masks so long they forget they're wearing them. They manipulate without admitting it. They play victim while blaming others. They project their shadows endlessly onto the world. And then they meet you. Someone who refuses to play. Someone who has faced themselves. Someone who cannot be manipulated, shamed, or seduced. Your presence unsettles them. They sense something in you they cannot explain. Your silence feels heavy. Your words feel deliberate. Your eyes feel piercing. They test you, but you don't collapse. They project onto you, but you don't bite. They push, but you remain steady. And in that steadiness, they feel their own fragility. That is why you terrify them. Not because you threaten them, but because you expose them. This is the paradox. The more you integrate, the freer you become. But the freer you become, the more you unsettle the herd. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." When people meet you integrated, they are forced to confront themselves. Some will hate you. Some will fear you. Some will be inspired, but none will ignore you. So let's paint this transformation. The manipulator in you becomes honesty. You no longer twist words to control. You speak directly. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. This makes you trustworthy but also intimidating. Because in a world addicted to masks, honesty feels like fire. The victim in you becomes responsibility. You no longer collapse into helplessness. You claim your choices, even your pain. You stop blaming others. You own your life. This makes you powerful, but also polarizing, because when you stop collapsing, you show others how much they are still collapsing. The mask in you becomes authenticity. You no longer hide behind flawless personas. You admit flaws. You reveal chaos. You allow yourself to be human. This makes you magnetic because authenticity is rare, but it also makes you threatening because your honesty exposes others' masks. The seducer in you becomes conscious power. You no longer manipulate with charm. You influence with depth. You inspire not by false promises but by presence. This makes you a leader, but not one who needs followers. You become the kind of leader people follow voluntarily because they feel truth radiating from you. The child in you becomes disciplined creativity. You no longer resist responsibility. You take it willingly. But you don't kill playfulness. You guide it. You harness spontaneity with discipline. You create, you build. You turn ideas into form. This makes you productive, original, alive. But it also unsettles others because you remind them of their wasted potential. And the shadow mirror in you becomes self-awareness. You no longer rage at reflections. You learn from them. Every irritation becomes a lesson. Every conflict becomes a mirror. Instead of projecting, you integrate. This makes you wise, steady, calm. But it terrifies people because they cannot provoke you into collapse. This is individuation. This is what Jung meant when he said the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who the herd tells you to be, not who you pretend to be, who you are, whole, free, rare. But here's the deeper truth. Individuation is not just for you. When you live this way, you become a force in the world. You shift dynamics. You change rooms. You inspire without trying. People start to orbit around you, not because you chase them, but because you carry something they can't find anywhere else. Authenticity. And authenticity is magnetic. In a world drowning in noise, authenticity is silence. In a world collapsing into conformity, authenticity is rebellion. In a world addicted to illusion, authenticity is clarity. That's why Jung said, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will tell you." Most people let the world tell them. You refuse. You tell the world, and in doing so, you terrify it. Now let's bring this home with practice, because philosophy means nothing if it stays abstract. So how do you live individuation daily? First, practice deliberate silence, not collapse, not avoidance. Deliberate silence. Let pauses stretch in conversation. Resist the urge to over-explain. Speak only when necessary. And when you speak, mean it. Silence builds gravity. Second, practice radical responsibility. When something goes wrong, stop blaming. Ask, what is my part in this? What choice did I make? This doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means claiming power in everything. Because if it's yours, you can change it. Third, practice creative discipline. Don't just consume. Create daily. Write, draw, build, design, express. Not for approval, not for applause, for you. Creation proves freedom. Fourth, practice mirror work. When someone irritates you, pause. Ask, what part of me are they showing me? Instead of projecting, reflect. Instead of blaming, learn. Each irritation becomes a teacher. These practices are simple, but they are brutal because they demand you live awake every day, and most people will never choose that. But if you do, you will rise. You will become unforgettable. You will become respected. You will become free. So here we stand at the end of Jung's labyrinth. You know the 6 dangerous people. You know how they drain you. You know how to disarm them. You know how they live inside you. And you know how to integrate them. The final question is not philosophical. It is personal. Will you do it? Will you take the responsibility to stop collapsing? Will you face your own shadow instead of projecting it? Will you become rare in a world addicted to sameness? Because if you do, everything changes. You stop being invisible. You stop being fragile. You stop being controlled. You become whole. You become free. You become the person Jung knew was possible, the one who terrifies the unconscious because you are awake. Write it in the comments. I choose awareness. Let that be your first act of integration. Let it be the mark of your transformation. And if you are ready to keep climbing, subscribe. Because this is not the end. This is the beginning. The next video will take you even deeper, into the shadows, the archetypes, and the transformations that make you unshakable.